welcome to Storyboard. This is Shibani Gharat. Nike India recently launched their Make the World Listen campaign in Mumbai. This campaign was all about unlocking the power of sport for women in India. The brand hosted an interactive event for women and encouraged them to break barriers of judgment by expressing themselves with confidence through sport. The motto of this campaign was to acknowledge that sports bra is not just an important piece of apparel for women, but it is also a symbol for strength and defiance of judgment and barriers. They indeed made a statement with hundreds of women participating on the event day at Geo Garden, sporting sports bra and their attitude. I caught up with Nike India's marketing head Keerthana Ramakrishnan on the day of the event to understand how was this movement initiated. I can easily say that you've been living under rocks if you haven't noticed the Make the World Listen hoardings splashed across the city of Mumbai. Well, we have Keerthana Ramakrishnan with us from Nike today. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thank you, Shibani.
You know, what amazing energy this, this campaign has been on for, I guess, quite a few weeks. And finally, it has culminated into this mega extravaganza where you can see all the women coming in and, doing all kinds of sport and finally a run. So tell us, how did you plan for it? How did you arrive upon the idea? And, what was the thought behind the whole concept, the whole initiative?
We hit upon the idea with the insight that we got from Mumbai women, right? And that insight is about how long-standing cultural beliefs in our society, in our country, have allowed judgment to reign in this country, in this society, right? And that judgment acts as a barrier for women to freely expressing themselves or even with their relationship with sport, right? And that judgment therefore comes in the way of women achieving their goals, their success, ambition, and so on and so forth. So with that insight, we hit upon this idea for this campaign, which is really, the purpose of this campaign is really about empowering women to go out there and break those barriers of judgment and chase their goals and dreams, right? So basically, it is the purpose that we have at Nike is to empower girls to be the change that they wish to see through the lens of sport.
Okay, so you mentioned how it was through a research, through consumer insight that you arrived upon this campaign. You must have heard a hell lot of stories. Can you share a couple of stories?
Oh, there are stories of judgment that we've heard from girls that are galore in our country, right? Whether you talk to elite athletes or you talk to everyday athletes, you and I are women, we have faced it in our society, right? Whether it is saying, oh, you're not good enough for this, or how can you wear those kind of clothes, or don't go out in the dark, or what is sport going to get you, or forget sport, any other profession, right? If you are a woman and you choose to do something, there is always judgment that your neighbor, your society, or your family, it can be anybody that is putting on you, right? So we've heard lots of stories like that.
Okay, Nike has been associated with, women in sport for quite a few years. Tell us about the journey and how has it had an impact on the brand so far?
So like I was saying, Nike has defined innovation and design for women for over 40 years. Globally, Nike champions girls and women through the lens of sport. We believe that sport has the power to move the world forward, and women, most of all, are moving their cities and cultures forward, right? Whether it is about providing the right platform to play, the right knowledge for them about sport, we will be there for them.
Okay, especially in a country like India where, women are told to behave in a particular way, to not step out in the night after a particular hour, how relevant do you think this campaign is in a country like India?
So Shibani, you said exactly what we are trying to break, right? So like I said, there are long-standing cultural beliefs that is allowing judgment to reign in our society. And campaigns like this, our endeavor through campaigns like this is exactly to give women the confidence and strength through sport to be able to break those barriers and really go after their goals and their ambitions.
So what is the business impact that you expect, let's say, in the coming days out of an initiative like this?
So first of all, through this campaign, we've been on this journey through this campaign for about 6-7 weeks now. And over this 6-7 week period, we have been providing access to sport. When I say access to sport, we've taken over sporting arenas and gyms and studios across the city of Mumbai where girls can go and play, move, train. So the activities range from dance to kickboxing to football to cricket, so that they can experience sport and actually break their inner barriers, right, and find their inner strength. And then once they're able to embrace that strength in them, they become a positive catalyst for the society, for the community around them, for their friends and family, right? So with that as the objective, we've actually genuinely seen girls in these past 6 weeks, literally blossom like that. And today what you're seeing here, Shibani, is the culmination of that journey where we are here to celebrate sport, celebrate that empowerment. So what you're seeing around here is about 3,000 girls who are coming here to celebrate exactly that freedom to be able to express themselves and that community that they want to build for each other, right? So for us, we are really overwhelmed and encouraged by the response that we're seeing from the young girls and women in Mumbai who've experienced this journey along with us, and we feel like they will now continue to play sport right even after this campaign is over, because they've started to feel the power of sport and started to see what it can do for them.
All right, thank you so much. Thanks for speaking to us.
Thank you so much, Shibani.
You're watching Storyboard. This week, Facebook India launched Thumb Stoppers, a first-of-its-kind initiative to redefine short-form mobile video creativity in the country. This initiative is in partnership with leaders from the advertising industry, and the aim is to transform storytelling for mobile advertising. Facebook recognizes that mobile has fundamentally reshaped consumer behavior. With declining attention spans, one just has a precious few seconds to get the consumer attention, as traditional advertising formats of 60 seconds and 30 seconds don't work well on the mobile. The industry needs to embrace the possibility that stories can be told in under 10 seconds. That's the premise of Thumb Stoppers. Short stories move hearts. To find out more about this campaign, I caught up with Sandeep Bhushan, Head of Global Marketing Solutions, Facebook India, on the sidelines of the campaign launch event. To tell us more about this initiative, we have Sandeep Bhushan, Head of India GMS Facebook. Sandeep, welcome to Storyboard.
Thank you.
So tell us more about Facebook Thumb Stoppers campaign. How did you arrive upon the concept? What was the initial idea like, and what exactly are you guys doing?
So I think a couple of key movements in the world around us. Consumers are on mobile. Consumer on internet. India, we're talking of 500 million consumers now on the internet. And the way they access the internet is very different from what the expectation is. They scroll fast, they like to discover information, they like to build communities, but they certainly like to seek value out of every interaction. The question is, what is the right way, therefore, to communicate on the mobile platforms to get the message across? Business results specifically, for example, in the context of your audience, have been a key theme of how Facebook engages with the businesses. So from the smallest business to the largest multinationals, we've been partnering businesses in moving business results. The question further is, what is the right kind of content that can power it even further? We now know that consumers move fast on the feed and also assimilate information faster. What is the right creative storytelling, therefore for mobile, is the question in front of all of us. And what we're launching today is an initiative to partner industry to bring the best CCOs together to consider what needs to be done. And we're putting out a program called Facebook Thumbstoppers, a multi-part activity to get the right creative on mobile, emotional stories that can be told in under 10 seconds, and we call it Thumbstoppers.
Okay, because typically when we used to see on Facebook was like the longer format of the shorter television ad, because television of course is very expensive. So the longer format used to be played on Facebook as a platform. So did you look at it as like something that you guys want to change for brands to make it more engaging for their consumers?
Yes. The savviest marketers across the world are already building for the feed, which is for a consumer who's browsing through the feed and making choices on what content to engage with. Remember, every piece of communication is competing with the consumer's interest, which could be around a community that he or she is part of, around a cause he or she is part of, around news that he or she wants to consume, or take brand messaging. This is the competitive set, and we cannot deny this situation. The best marketers are already building for the feed, which is what can we deliver quickly in terms of both our branding and our message.
Okay.
What we're pushing for, just building on that further, what we're pushing for now is an industry-wide set of practices to institutionalize this way of working and addressing the very specific question that can storytelling in under 10 seconds move hearts? Can we tell emotional stories? And we certainly think so. So that's the program.
So as you said, you certainly think so. And you know, I'm sure a lot of marketers and brands would wonder how could they possibly tell their brand story or whatever they are trying to say within 10 seconds. But you demonstrated that in your presentation. Tell us more about those films and, you know, how did you manage those films within 10 seconds? And in fact, you mentioned 9.99 seconds, right?
Yes. So again, great work on Facebook, on Instagram, globally is happening, and it works under 10 seconds. The question is, can we institutionalize it? So we went to our creative agency, in this case, Wonderman Thompson, and said, hey, can you help us put a module together that makes the point sharper? While of course many businesses and fantastic business partners are already doing it. So for the purpose of this program, we put out special films that make the point, also specifically around whatever be your cause. And you saw that we are looking at those causes under 4 categories, all the way from human behavior you want to change to brands that consumers love. So whatever be your case, communication can move hearts for consumers on mobile is our thesis.
So how soon do you think brands should start moving to a shorter story format as compared to what they are doing right now?
So the best brands already do it. The best agencies are already doing it. The question is, can everyone do it? Because every minute of the consumer is valuable, and every dollar spent on communication advertising is valuable. How do we make sure we don't waste a second in storytelling or a dollar in advertising spend? And that's the effort, and therefore it's urgent. By the way, it's required as of yesterday because we know the scale of the consumers on our platforms globally.
Okay, so but why don't you think that a brand can't trim a longer commercial into a shorter 10-second format, because already that consumer might be exposed to it on different platforms. So why can't a brand just trim it down and put it to, they have the context, so they can just view it in a shorter format on Facebook. Why not?
I think the history of media tells us how the transitions have always been in taking from a medium for another. I think the anecdote that stands out always is how radio advertising moved to television. And it was actually radio advertising read out on television when TV happened, I think 70, 80 years ago. Should we be repeating the same mistake again, which is take the television ad and put it where the reveal of the brand is in the 30th second and the consumers moved on? So it is suboptimal. Question is, can creative agencies, when given the right framework, build? Of course they can. They build today for newspaper and they build today for TV. as they will build tomorrow for the feed. The question therefore is, the moment the best creative minds know the framework, they are able to produce content, because they're in the business of telling emotional stories, whatever be the medium. The question is, can we agree with what is that set of constraints and what is that opportunity? And the effort now is in two parts therefore. One is to inspire, where we will ask the best creative minds to write creatives that we're going to therefore take forward in showcasing. And before that, to engage, which is take to every single agency in the country these rules and these opportunities that allow them the freedom to create for emotion.
Sandeep, why do you think a consumer will watch a shorter story, a shorter 10-seconder on Facebook as compared to a longer story?
I think consumer attention deserves to be won, especially if it's a commercial message. The consumer did not start by saying, today I want a commercial message, right? CRM products, for example, on many platforms where a consumer initiated journey happens is a different scenario. For example, on our messaging apps today, you can ask a question, get a response, whether it's with an automated bot or directly from the business on the other side. But when a consumer is not initiating a query, typically we have to work hard to win the attention of the consumer, and therefore that is the opportunity. The shorter the attention that the consumer wants to give to advertising, the harder we have to work to make sure that we get the attention, except we need to know how to.
Okay, that's a great thought. In fact, the shorter the attention that consumers give to a story, the harder we have to work. Sandeep, thank you so much. Thanks for speaking to us. Welcome back. You're watching Storyboard. Which was the first mobile phone you owned? Well, for me, it was Nokia, and I'm sure this would hold true for the most of you. But today, at a time when the mobile phone market in India is at its dynamic best, this legacy brand Nokia might have revived, but there is still a lot of work that needs to be done in order to compete neck to neck with global giants. On his recent visit to India, we caught up with Pekka Rantala, Executive Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer HMD Global, on the company's global plans for brand Nokia and how they are planning to revive its legacy. Pekka, welcome to Storyboard.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
You know, HMD Global has brought back Nokia as a brand into public consciousness, but considering the aggressiveness of, let's say, a Samsung, Vivo, Oppo's, Huawei's of the world, it is still a long way to go. So how do you plan to tackle that?
Yeah, hey, thank you very much. Good question. And overall, it has been a very exciting journey. And like you said, so as HMD, we started this journey only a couple of years ago, and only within 2 years we have been able to really get back to the business, to the game. Nokia phones today are sold in more than 150 countries in the world. It has been really busy and hectic 2 years that we have had. And now back to your question that how to be competitive and how to manage and be successful in the market. So I'm happy to share that when it comes to the whole smartphone market in the world, it did decline last year, whereas in our case, in Nokia phone case, Nokia smartphones were swimming upstream. We managed to sell significantly more smartphones than in the previous years, which means that we were able to grow our share in all relevant key markets, including the Indian market. So we think that we are progressing on our journey. But of course, it's very early days for us. We are a startup from Finland, which also makes us different. And we are taking step by step what we think to the right direction.
Pekka, when I was growing up, Nokia was the first phone that I purchased. In fact, this holds true to many of the Indian consumers. Will the brand be able to revive that place ever again? And, how would you do that? What is the strategy?
Yeah, thanks. Very good question. And if I just would like to a little bit elaborate what really makes us different, what makes what we think a very good choice and alternative for the Indian consumers, and really to start with the brand, because like you said, so Nokia has been around for a long time, and that's also what makes us so different. We haven't been created during the couple of past years, but Nokia brand was created more than 150 years ago, so it's a truly authentic story. And And Nokia brand has always had a very special relationship, especially with the Indian consumers and Indian nation. So we were very early here, much earlier than many of the current competitors, when we already we were able to say that we are here, Nokia is made in India, it's made for India. So the brand aspect is really important. Let's also keep in mind that Nokia brand really, it means something. So it is not just a word, it's not just a trademark, but Nokia brand really means things like quality, trust, simplicity, design, ease of use in all parts of the world. In Delhi, in Mumbai, in Bangalore, in all other countries in the world, if you go and ask the consumers, that's what they answer. Nokia stands for reliability. That is what makes us very different compared to many other names out there for which we have high respect, but they are still just perhaps building their names to become a true brand that has also not only rational but emotional meaning.
Pekka, you made a very interesting point. In fact, today smartphones only talk about specifications. How are you telling the Nokia story any differently?
It definitely is, and you know, I have good news for you, and I think that we have good news for every Indian consumers, because this is a humongously big industry when it comes to mobile phone industry. In the world there are much more than 1 billion smartphones sold every single year. And if you look what's happening in this industry, it has been, in my opinion, quite boring for quite some time. You look at all the mobile phone players, more or less they are sharing and singing the same story about tech and spec and price. More or less, I think that's the story in a nutshell. Now, we want to introduce a totally different angle to the conversation. We want to introduce a conversation that only we think that we can have. And that really starts from the fact that when in today's situation, when a consumer in India buys a smartphone today, they think that their phone is at its best when they have just purchased it and when they are about to step out from the store that they have bought the phone. Whereas in our case, we think differently, and our message to the consumers is that our phones get better over time. They are future-proof. And why am I able to say it is that we have committed to a very specific promise, which is that first of all, we are providing a unique Android experience, a very pure Android experience across the entire Nokia smartphone range. But more importantly, or on top of it, we are providing and committing and promising monthly security updates for at least 36 months from the purchase time. And we are also committing to future operating system updates, not only for our most expensive models, but across the whole portfolio of Nokia smartphones. And this is why we can tell that whatever the future brings with technology, Nokia smartphones will always be updated. And this is a very different situation, because this means that your Nokia phone after 1 year, it is actually better than what it used to be when you bought it. And it's a very big shift in the mindset and attitude in the way you should think about smartphones.
Which is your key market and how significant is India for HMD Global?
I don't know how many times I've been in India, probably my 50th time. I've been 50 times in India, always very happy to be here. And the reason, of course, is not only that I love this country and the passion of the consumers here, but also the very specific relationship that the Indian consumers have always had towards the Nokia brand. And this is what also has made, in such a short time, India our key and most important smartphone market around the world.
So tell us, how is Nokia positioning itself in India, considering it's a very price-conscious consumer that we have in the country?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we are everyone's brand. Nokia brand has always been a quality brand, a premium brand, but not a luxury brand, which means that we have been available always with a large scale of different kind of products in different price points. So we want to be a choice for everyone in the Indian market also going forward. That's what we always have been. We are very strong in feature phones. We are very strong in smartphones. We are number 1 in the world in feature phones. We are number 4 in feature phones in India. And of course, we are keen to climb higher the ladders when it comes to feature phones.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for speaking to us.
Hey, thank you so much for your time, and all the best.